has to be, my mad hair has to be tidied up. How is? I hope you're all okay, and I hope you're finding yourselves well. I have been on the road the last few days, megalith hunting with Neil MacDonald and some very nice people, and we're also getting some final footage and resource material for the upcoming book and film, and also the Mysterious Earth Conference in Preston, which is the second week in September, I think, weekend in September, and there's still some places open for that. So if you go Google Neil MacDonald Megalithic Tours Mysterious Earth Conference, you'll get the details for the event in the second weekend in Preston. And so it'll be great fun. Of course, I'll be there, and others will be there as well. And it's a brilliant lineup. And the premiere of the Atlantis movie will be made there. I'm currently in Athlone, in the dead centre of Ireland, a town I've never been in properly before. I've only passed through it on the train. And I have to say, the old town centre is an incredibly beautiful place, where the cathedral and the castle beside the Shannon. The town is full of endless lovely little pubs and restaurants, and there's a marina and that kind of thing. So it's definitely a very, very nice place. I'll definitely come here again on holiday. So thumbs up Athlone, well done. And so there's a few things I want to talk about. The first one is, it's a kind of a weird one. There's a weird thing I'll be talking about, and a weird topic. And I'm not fully sure. Oh look, here we go. I'm not fully sure why. Some people sent me, it came to my attention that a document was made. It was by some group who were highlighting anti-lockdown activists, and that included YouTubers in Ireland. And it was paid for by, I'll put the link to it when this video is over in the comments section. But this document was funded by the usual types, the Gates Foundation, the George Soros Open Society, and various other spooks and idiots grifting off, corporate money to pretend they care about the world, and academics. Now, the thing reads like it was written by demented spastics. It really is ridiculous, the document, and it's also quite evil. It tries to ultimately blame people who died during the lockdown in Ireland on people who have YouTube channels, and I'm not talking about the big famous people. I'm talking all the way down to some guy or woman who might have a channel, a YouTube channel with 500 subscribers, and they go after the usual people: John Waters, Gemma Doherty, Dave Cullen, Gran Torino, all Ivor Covens. They all get attacked. And the document, no one said, it's like classic academics who don't have a single brain cell of sort of abstractive thought. And it's like like robots wrote every cliche in the book. But it's also, like I said, there's an evil. There's like a wickedness about it. It's evil. Now they list that there's a comprehensive list of names on it. And guess whose name isn't on it? Now, if there was one thing you could probably call me in 2020 and 2021, it would be Mr. Lockdown, anti-lockdown. I mean, that's what the Rona Chronicles were about, and the Epic Journey series of videos were about. And you could say, okay, well, Thomas, you're just not that important enough. Well, that could be possible. But they picked on people that has various YouTube channels with 500 subscribers, where I've, on this channel, and one of them, I think almost with 3 channels, I've got like nearly 100,000 subscribers. And people I'd never heard of. And and I wasn't on the list. Now, I'm not complaining or anything like that. It's just, it's weird that I'm not on it. So, just talking with some people, my friends about it. What is the reasons for me not being on the list? I think I know why, and I'll explain at the end why. But there are other possibilities as well. The obvious first one is they don't take me seriously. And that's possibly true because I do take the piss a lot. And I do joke around, and academic people tend to be of very low cognitive functioning when it comes to things like satire and having a laugh. They're basically all Asperger's. So that's the first possibility. Or they're just not capable of reaching people or of influencing them. They feel that way. The next possibility is that they're trying to mark me out as a shill. It's already happened that my name not being on the list is also like, I've had people try to claim that I was a shill because my YouTube channels were still up. Now, as we're talking code and things like that for the most part, but believe me, I'm on the knife edge here with these channels, with the two Thomas Sheridan channels, very much so. They can go anytime, and so someone said they might have just done that to make you look like a shill, because like you're not on the list, that kind of thing, or maybe they're trying to win my favor or something. Maybe I'll get the approach. These are unlikely ones now. However, I do think the real reason, and I always talk about the greatest education ever. Well, mulling over this document last night, it was one of them greatest education ever moments because you learn things, Sometimes the absence of something can be the most powerful mirror of something. Now, I always remember, like, I read Michael Caine's biography, and he didn't realize he was a heavy drinker until he got married. And as I said to him, "You drink an awful lot, don't you?" And he goes, "I do." She goes, "Yeah, you have like a bottle and a half of like spirits a day." And he says, "Geez, she was right. I never realized I was a heavy drinker until I got married." So his wife, an absence of a critical voice to his casual drinking, which added up to a lot of booze during the day, was the thing that amplified what the issue was, right? That, so getting married amplified him to an issue he wasn't really aware of. I think the main reason that they left me off the list is because I'm not political. And what the most vicious sort of like nastiness in the whole document was reserved for a conservative mindset. I'm not conservative, and yet that's who they made a specific point of going for. So you can now the people would be like middle ground to conservative. I'm not. First of all, I'm apolitical. Secondly, I'm pretty much an anarchist. Thirdly, a lot of people in the old scene don't like me because I don't have an issue. I'm not anti-abortion. I'm not immigration per se. I'm in favor of gay marriage, and I'm in favor of gay wedding, and I'm in favor of even gay couples adopting children. Once there's a proper, proper protocol and background checks on everything, I don't have any problem with two gay men or two lesbians raising a child. It's not ideal, but sometimes it happens, and sometimes there is a lack of people adopting, and I don't have an issue with it. I don't, and it's if they're decent people, and they're not imposing a lifestyle on the child, which in the case of like I read recently that most boys who are raised by gay couples grow up to be heterosexual. So the stats are there. So, and I just think my attitude is if a child can be given a loving home environment that wouldn't normally have, there's nothing wrong with that to me. There's nothing wrong with that. So on this side of the fence, on the kind of like all-seeing side of the fence, a lot of people don't like me for that reason. Like I said, that I have no problem with immigrants coming to this country. once we don't have an open door, we're not flooded or overwhelmed. And there's also a cultural nationalism to get their children and them to perhaps assimilate, like in the same way. And I think that's a healthy thing. When I went to America, I wasn't going to be a paddy hanging out in pubs in Woodside or Somerville in Boston, and I wasn't going to be like hanging out in Irish pubs. I went to America to become part of the American society and to experience that, to assimilate into the culture and lifestyle. And it was a wonderful thing for me. It was like a very empowering thing I mean, I'm a firm believer of whatever country I would personally move to, I would do my best to be assimilate to say thank you to the host country. And that's the only issue I have with immigration, is there's no checks and balances to make sure that people coming into the country are assimilating. Now some are not, but that's like, I think that's, I always thought that countries like Australia and even the United States to a degree have a kind of a soft assimilation program, which I always thought was like the way to do it. So like, but the most people in the alt scene are completely against all and also not an Irish political nationalist. I tend to be a cultural nationalist. I'm also not a Catholic. That's a big one, and I'm not. I'm a pagan, and I'm quite anti-Christian, in terms of I'm aware of the legacy that Christianity has left. That's not as happy and shiny as it's made out to be, and my issue with things like jihad are based on religious fanaticism. But no, I'm not anti-Islam, I'm not anti-Christian, but I'm afraid of jihad and I'm afraid of crusade. And that's just as a pagan, I see that, I'm afraid of that stuff. And fanaticism, religious fanaticism is a terrifying thing to me. I think it's more frightening than just about anything, especially if it comes into a position of power. But having said that, I'm very, everyone to their own God, like, so what's his name? And so I think that's the key. That's why I was left alone. If I was a conservative Christian, Irish nationalist in the traditional sense, a renewal type thing, I think I would have been went after. But because I'm not those things, you can see clearly that the truth emerges, that these globalists are quite terrified of conservatism. Now, of conservative. Now we know that, we already kind of knew that, right? But when you read this document and you read between the lines, you can see they're petrified of anything that's not left wing. It's like a phobia. Even the middle ground terrifies them. And libertarians and things like that, which to me a libertarian would be kind of, if I was ever to jump into the world of politics, I guess maybe libertarian would be kind of close, but I wouldn't do that either. I just, my attitude towards government is the same as my attitude towards the legal system. That it's like living next door to a crazy family, and you walk by and you'll wave to them, but you won't invite them over for tea. That's my attitude towards politics. And I'm trying to think, why do they have this issue with conservatism? This is what really kind of, like, I started thinking about it. To me, conservatism was a terrible thing, because I'm coming from the neocons, the post 9/11 neocons of America, the likes of the Dick Cheneys and Donald Rumsfeld and Condoleezza Rice, these people who, and the Bushes, of course, are these people who declared war on Iraq for something that their friends in the House of Saud did. The appalling, murderous, appalling warmongers. And they also robbed the USA blind. And, so that when I think of conservatism, I think of that. When I think of conservatism in an Irish context, now I know I'm being stereotypical, so I'm not the whole story. Anyway, I think of Oliver J. Flanagan, he was a politician here in Ireland who was like, he was the Minister of Defence for Defence at one point, I think. And he was like, I think he used to whip out his rosary beads in public and do, say a decade of the rosary. He was a Catholic fundamentalist. And that's in the Irish, when I think in the British context, the thing would be that, the Margaret Thatcher, Ted Heath, not particularly, Ted Heath was an appalling human being, but Margaret Thatcher, not particularly nice people, are people like Edwina Curry and John Major, not just people who are just not likable at all. From the conservative aspects. I mean, that's why kind of Boris Johnson, before he was changed, I found Boris Johnson quite likable at first, but he changed when he went into hospital. Remember when he got the Rona, and they put him into hospital? He came out a different man. It was like they did something to him. And you do wonder if it's that like that Bill Hicks thing they showed him the video of what really happened on the grassy knoll. Or they put truths. It was like Stanley Kubrick's a Clockwork Orange where he put truths, I was cured, I was, kind of thing. But you do wonder, why are they so blatantly anti-conservative to the point where what I would consider pretty much mainstream opinions, the classic sort of like conservative things would be, a traditional family, a traditional society, traditional fiscal policies regarding finance and things like that, uh, sort of like wholesome values, that kind of thing. Government not having, people being more responsible for their own destiny, rather than relying on the state. But that's always been a weird one because, when you have conservative governments, the people don't get welfare, the military does. You see that on the United States. The military gets the money that doesn't go to the hospitals and stuff. And so it just, but in general, if you take like Ronald Reagan, sort of like regular conservatism, Mulrooney in Canada, I think he was a conservative there as well. It's kind of innocuous politically in many ways. It's not extremist, but it's been declared extremist by the globalists, and I think basically a combination of me not being conservative, not being Christian, and not being typical of what they call the alt scene in the world is the reason why I'm not on that list. But it still is kind of weird, I don't understand why, but again, I'm not complaining. I'm not egotistical about it. It's like, why am I? It's one, the absence is nagging me, and that's the only thing I can think of. Now, these people definitely see. If it's amazing to think that if you're a sort of like a Ronald Reagan, Nigel Farage type conservative, you're considered like a wild extremist. I find that amazing. Like that, and has the world swung that far to the left? I don't know if it has. I think globalism is a completely different thing. I mean, you cannot, to me, you can. There's no way you could compare the left wing of today with, say, like the trade union movement of the left wing of the past. It's completely different. But yet there's people on the left who are still believing it. You still have the likes of Bruce Springsteen, who still carries on like it's Freehold, New Jersey, 1966, and the union is on strike, this kind of thing. And there he is mollycoddling some of the biggest globalist assholes on the face of the planet. I mean, they're actually stuck in this kind of past. And they're not left wing anymore. They're not Democrats. They're not social Democrats or anything. They're the new. They're in a world of globalization that the old labels don't matter. And the only group that's still clinging to the old labels are conservative people. There's really no left wing as we knew what left wing was anymore. It doesn't exist. It simply doesn't exist. It's gone. You know, if you grew up in England, the Arthur Scargill, that kind of left wing, you know, it's gone. If you grew up in America, the sort of like the Labour wings of the Democratic Party, that's gone. It's just gone. And so there's no traditional left wing anymore. But yet some people on the right claim that's what we have now in the globalists is left wing. It's not. It's a whole beast by itself. It's a whole beast that wants to move the world beyond the left-right paradigm in order to... Well, I know that to a certain extent the two parties were kind of always mutually inclusive, but even if it was superficial, it was still there. They want a kind of a blank slate to build upon, and the only buffer between them and achieving it, as far as they're concerned in terms of them losing sleep, is the conservatives. So now I'm starting to see the conservative thing in a whole different way. And this document has made me see that perhaps people who want traditional values are the radicals of today. Well, they are. They're radicals of today. And so basically, these NGO, globalist think tanks and foundations see someone who believes or promotes the idea of the traditional nuclear family with the two kids, the mortgage, the house, the car, the job, the kids being educated and going. They consider that an abomination. Because when you think about it, the one thing that the conservative, you strip everything out of the conservative mindset, the one thing that conservatives have always stood for and always will and continue to stand for, even in the present guise, and what makes them tremendously dangerous to the narrative is ownership of private property. That's the one defining thing that sets the conservative apart from everyone else today, and always has, is the belief in personal property, a private ownership. Now, what was that famous thing, WEF? You will own nothing and you will be happy. And you can see now why they have declared people, conservative people, to be, you know, they talk about these people in this document as if they're worse than Osama bin Laden, as if they're worse than Carlos the Jackal. I mean, as if they're worse than, Pablo Escobar. That's how they talk about them in this document. And all they are people who said who wanted to end the lockdowns. And the phobia and the terror of it is rooted in the belief that the last buffer between them and their great reset is the conservatives, and in particular people who are openly conservative, but that's really all about ownership of private property, and that's what really bothers them, and really trying to demolish that conservative mindset. So I have to say, although I'm not a conservative, and I can't believe I'm saying this, as it stands in 2022, conservative-minded people are actually helping, forming a buffer and a wall between the globalists and their agenda, from something as simple as wanting to have a family home. So, well done on being a spanner in the works. But I shall continue to be my unique oddball self as he loses. Someone called me then. I will continue to be my oddball freak self, unclassifiable. And that suits me fine. But I'll always speak up against what I perceive to be injustice, and no matter what that document says about those people in the alt media in Ireland that they were responsible for the horrors of people who died because they broke the lockdowns. Let me tell you, they have far less blood in their hands than you motherfuckers who left old people to die in retirement homes. And that's not political opinion. That's opinion born out of human rights. So, thanks for leaving me off the list, and fuck you. Take care, everybody. Love you.